I'm sorry, I'm not sure I expected to be up here with a runny nose. What a compelling story, and so proud of Athabasca University at this moment. Madam Chair, distinguished guests, elder, members of the platform party, graduates and graduands, ladies and gentlemen, I am most fortunate today to introduce this year's Honorary Doctor of Law recipient, Gabriel David Tuccaro. David, I would ask you if you could rise, please. I've had the privilege of knowing David a long time through our respective work in the Alberta oil sands industry. This is a gentleman whom I greatly admire and respect for what he stands for as a person, as a valued member of his First Nation, a stalwart champion of the Alberta business community, and for his absolute clarity for the need for Aboriginal Indigenous education that creates options for leadership and success. As a business leader, common phrases and adjectives one will routinely hear describing David include visionary, trailblazer, people-driven, genuine, and importantly, a straight shooter. It's always fun to be on the receiving end of that particular trait. And someone who walks his talk. Above all of this, what David is really renowned for is his intrinsic belief in the value of education for young people. He is a huge proponent of reducing barriers to learning within Canada's Indigenous communities. As the board chair of Inspire, an Indigenous organization dedicated to the education of Indigenous people, David has been instrumental in the provisioning of educational scholarships, approximately $91 million worth among Canada's Indigenous students since the organization's launched its awards program in 1985. In fact, in the last 18 months, 9 of our own Athabasca University Faculty of Business Indigenous students have been recipients of the David Tuccaro Scholarship, part of his personal commitment to Aboriginal education. Benefits of the scholarships for the students, for their families, and for our country. Inspire's president and CEO, Roberta Jamieson, a member of the Order of Canada, has said, "Dave is really at the vanguard of Indigenous leadership, strong in his identity, and yet he's not afraid of going beyond the stereotype, challenging the myths, setting his sights on goals, and delivering." Gabriel David Tuccaro caught the entrepreneurial bug early on. As a member of the Mikisew Cree First Nation in Fort Chipewyan, Alberta, straight out of high school, he hit the business ground running. From starting up taxi companies, a janitorial service, an automotive repair shop, and a bakery, he never lost sight of the big prize, to be a significant player in the oil sands economy. He eventually became the business leader he is today as the founder, CEO, and president of Tuccaro Inc., which currently comprises 7 oil sands support companies, each with the shared purpose of creating meaningful employment for Aboriginal people while recognizing the essential need to expand their platform of leadership at the boardroom table and beyond. David's businesses have gone from handouts and hopes to being an economic force in Canada's largest industrial development. Through the years, David has been recognized for his many outstanding accomplishments. He's been named in Financial Post's Top 40 Under 40, Alberta Venture's 50 Most Influential People. He is the recipient of both the Queen's Jubilee Medal and a National Aboriginal Achievement Award, among countless other accolades. David's continual quest for and demonstration of lifelong learning positions him most deservedly as a recipient of this Honorary Doctor of Laws. His leadership in employment, business development, and education is transformative in rewriting the Indigenous story here in Alberta. I am proud to present to you Gabriel David Tuccaro.
Thank you, Heather, for those kind words. Excuse me. Madam Chair, Mr. President, distinguished guests, members of the Platform Party, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, fellow graduates, on reaching this milestone. You should all be proud of yourselves today. Of all these MBA students now that could come back with me to Fort McMurray to rebuild. I'm honored to be standing here among you today, and I thank the committee members who felt I was deserving of this prestigious award. I'm especially pleased because the award is coming from a university I really believe in. I've always looked at a university education as a valuable gift, the most valuable gift for all Canadians to enjoy, no matter their age, their cultural background, their status in life, work, or where they live. Not only is education a gift, it is a right for everyone, everybody, no matter, no one in this great country should ever feel deprived of receiving the gift of an education. As was mentioned, I grew up in Fort Chip, which is the oldest settled community in Alberta. It was established in 1788 by the fur trade. Maybe that's where I get my entrepreneurial know-how from. We've been trading for a long time. Fort Chip is a remote community located on Lake Athabasca. It's still isolated. It's one of the only isolated communities. I think it's the only isolated community in Alberta. It's only accessible by flying in the summer and ice road in the winter. Due to that remoteness, a lot of kids from my community didn't have access to the post-secondary educational opportunities that exist for many other people in Alberta and across the country. When I discovered Athabasca University's programs, I loved that everyone or anyone from anywhere around the world could access a university education. And that factor was very attractive to me when it came time for me to decide to support the AU business students in their learning quest. So thank you for the opportunity for me to give back. It is a wonderful opportunity for people like myself. I'm inquisitive, I'm a driven person. At one time, didn't have access to university schooling at a typical campus-style institution. Certainly there was no Athabasca University. A lot of young people, students from all over the country, have asked me, where did you get your business drive from? Well, the first answer is right here in this audience, and it was from my mother. It was her drive to ensure that we, 8 kids, got educated. So she kicked our butts and made us work, or made sure that we made school. She's still involved in education today. At 82 years old, she's the elder representative for Treaty 8 in education, and was successful in actually getting the government to build a school in Fort Chip, where I'm from. Thank you, Mom. I've been asked the questions many times, where do you get it from? And I have to think back. I was being interviewed by CBC television, and he asked me, where'd you get your drive from? And I think back, I think it was when I was 7 years old on the school playground. My principal, a nun, Sister Brady, started a marble program. And when I was 7 years old, you could go in and you could buy a marble for a penny. So Monday morning, I'd go in and buy 50 marbles for 50 cents. And throughout the week, I'd play marbles with the other kids in the playground and wherever I could. And by Friday, I'd have 500 or 600 marbles. And to me, that was a pretty good return on investment. And the graduating students probably understand ROI really well. But that gave me a feeling of independence. It gave me a feeling that I could pay for things myself. And with a little bit of effort and a lot of hard work and practice, you could eventually make a little bit of money. So that's what gave me the drive and the understanding that I loved to be able to have my own business and to be independent and not have to work for anybody else. And that's the reason why I'm in business today, I believe. I have 9 operating companies in the oil sands. At the highest point, a couple of years ago, I had up to 650 employees from just about every country in the world. I call my companies the United Nations. But I was given the opportunity by an industry, and one of my friends, Jim Carter's here, who believed that the Aboriginal people within the regions that they're developing the resources need to have access to opportunities as well. And Syncrude, between Eric Noll and Jim Carter, were 2 people who stepped out of the box and said, no, this is their land, we have to give them the opportunities. And I was one of the guys who reaped the benefit of the opportunities that they put in place for us. And I totally appreciate that, too. But as a result of that, over 21 years ago, I helped set up the Northeastern Alberta Aboriginal Business Association. It was kind of a chamber of commerce for Native business because we never had no place else to go. Back then, there was 8 Native businesses. Collectively, we sat around the table, started the organization. We generated roughly $20 million in revenue that year, the first year. Just over 21 years later, there's over 100 Native businesses now in the Northeastern Alberta Aboriginal Business Association. We estimated last year we generated $1.4 billion in revenue. So it goes to show that you just give us an opportunity and we could step up and perform just as good or better than other companies that were coming in from the south to take on opportunities in the oil sands. So we thank the oil sands industry for that, and Heather Kennedy was a part of that whole growing phase. But graduates, now that you have your degree, you can do it too. You can, if you want to or if you choose to. I still believe that education is the one gift that allows the youth in our community, in my community, to access full-time, good-paying jobs. Once you get a university education, no one can take that away from you. People who have an education are usually the ones that get some of the best opportunities. And also, very importantly, I want to say that in order for us to close the gap between our Aboriginal communities and the rest of Canada, we need to get educated. Education is what's going to get us there. And that's the reason I'm the chair of Inspire. Inspire is the largest funder of Aboriginal education outside the federal government. As Heather mentioned, Inspire is awarded since 1985 $91 million to over 28,000 First Nation, Inuit, and Métis students across the country. Before I close, I want to talk about resilience and being tough. Resilience to me means being steadfast and strong and holding to your convictions and never wavering in spite of the challenges or adversities life will throw at you. My advice to you is the same as that which I've told many MBA students in the past. Always keep your personal resilience tuned up and ready to perform when you need it. I would be remiss to talk about resilience without addressing the obvious. The recent Fort McMurray fire, which devastated so much of the city that I and my family grew up in and call home. The community I grew up in, where I started my businesses from the ground up. The beloved place, equally shared by so many of my dear friends and colleagues. You see, my own resilience has been tested all over again in these past few weeks. I've been crystal clear-minded of one thing. No matter how successful you are, no matter how many bootstraps you've been forced to pull up, no matter the number of obstacles you've surmounted along your road of gaining an education and repairing or reaping the aftermath of success, every now and then you must take a moment and remember that it was what has got you where you're at in the first place. Never forget where you come from, because you can do all of the planning in the world, business plans, financial plans, budgeting, all those plans, and kind of even contingency plans. But something like a fire comes along and screws it all up. And that even is true to your MBA degrees today. But resilience is what most of the people in Fort McMurray are having to do right now. Like they've been through so much, and over this past week are allowed to come back home and to see what's happened to their own homes. Many of them, my own employees, many of them lost their homes, so it's going to be a bit different. It's going to be challenging. We're going to have to pull up our bootstraps again. But at the end of the day, I know we will. And that's what I call resistance, not only individually, but a community, a province, a country. There's so much support that has come through to help the folks in Fort McMurray. So I ask you today, as you leave here with your degrees in hand, to always remember what true resilience is. It's never giving up on your dreams, your passions, your belief in yourself especially, and your ability to embrace lifelong learning. Congratulations on your momentous achievements this Athabasca University graduation day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tuccaro, for your inspirational speech and for the message that you have given to our graduates as they go forward. I think if you remember the message of resilience as you proceed, as you start your careers. And I also share, and thank you shared all your dedication to education, in particular for the Indigenous youth. And we're very happy that you're an ambassador for Athabasca University, and we ask you to please continue doing that because we do really appreciate that. Thank you again. John Terrodes of the Toronto Star describes ASANI music as infused with First Nations drumming and chant, but it goes well beyond that with the sounds of folk, blues, a bit of jazz, and the soulful insistence of traditional spirituals. ASANI means rock in Cree. And the three singers are not afraid to hurl themselves at our windows of complacency, both within and outside their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome ASANI.
Thank you. We started today's celebration with a song, a Cree song that we composed specifically for Athabasca University Convocation, Mistahe Kisik. Walk forward into the big, vast open sky where the possibilities to be great and to do great things are endless.
We're going to share a Cree blessing song, and the words of this are, my friends, I sing this song for you. I ask the Creator to give you a good life with lots of love. Ni wichi wagan, ni tikoche, ni wichi wagan, kin kamostamaten. Manito minao, nindo tamawao, miyopi ewa Mr. He, sagihito wen, kia wawoche, weya, heya. Way